You go for it.
Okay. Okay, so tell me about the moment you were diagnosed.
It kind of came in different parts, my diagnosis. I don't ever describe it as it being this single moment where I was like, or where they said, you have cancer. Like, my experience wasn't necessarily like that. During the summer that I was diagnosed, I was transitioning between London and Bristol. So when you move cities, you have to change GPs and all of that stuff. And because I'd found the lump whilst I was still living in London, I was having my biopsies there, but I was like moving to Bristol. So my addresses were different, et cetera, and a secretary gave me a call and she was like, we've been trying to get in contact with you, but like apparently you've moved to Bristol and like we haven't heard from you for like a couple of weeks or whatever it was. She was like, oh, what's your new address? So I told her my new address and she was like, okay, cool, I'll pass it on. She's like, I'll send you an email just, you know, telling this consultant that this is your new address. So I was like, okay, great. And this was after I'd done like my biopsies on the lump. So she sent me the email, but she accidentally sent me the whole thread of emails. So within the thread of emails, she was having a conversation with the consultant to say that they think that my lump is Burkitt's lymphoma. So that's how I actually found out through email. Like, nobody had actually told me anything of what it was. So I was like, oh my God. So I didn't know what Burkitt's lymphoma was, and in the email they were using terminology like aggressive and things like that. So instantly, as soon as you see that, I was just like, oh my God, like how far along is this cancer that I've got? Does that mean that I'm dead tomorrow? Like so much stuff was going through my mind at the time, and I was in contact with Bears at the time. So the doctor that we had for the women's team, Pada, I was like messaging him frantically. I was like, I've seen this email and I've forwarded him all the emails. I was like, I don't know what is going on.
So did you reply to that email?
No, I didn't. So he was able to almost fast track me to the team at BRI, just to say, I've had this email sent across, I've had these biopsies, I haven't had anything official sort of come through. And he was like really trying to reassure me. He was like, maybe they've made a mistake, like you're so young and all of this stuff. I was like literally losing my mind. And then I think that was a Friday afternoon that happened. And then a couple of days later, I got a call and they were like, hey, you have to come into hospital. So I went into BRI and I took Simi with me. So she sat and I had a conversation with one of the consultants at the time, and they told me that it was cancer. I was like, I already knew because I read the email, obviously, but it was nice to at least have someone sit me down and explain.
It was nice.
I mean, compared to
of course,
compared to
the treatment that happened beforehand.
Exactly. And then I had Simi as well with me, so it was good having a friend to sit with you and support you through.
So when they obviously said the word cancer. So from my own experience, like I was in that room for probably another half an hour and I couldn't tell you a single thing that was said. When obviously you kind of went into that already half guard up. So how were you when like it officially was said?
Literally, like you said, I can't remember. She was saying quite a lot of things. And Simi's a doctor, so she understood a lot of the technical jargon, you could say, that she was saying, and asked me if I had any questions, and I had none at the time. And it was Simi that was asking a lot of questions as to what it would mean in terms of treatment and stuff, or like what the next steps are. And I think from then everything just went blank. And I was just like, this is not how I imagined this supposed to go. Like, I'd moved from London to Bristol to start this new sort of rugby journey and take another step, or progress this part of my career in a different way, and I just didn't. Obviously you never expect that to happen this way anyway, but I was like, right, okay, this is a little bit different to what I was thinking, but like I can't even tell you the emotion that I was going through because I don't know, it's kind of blank.
Yeah. So I felt very emotionless, and like we've spoken before. I went there very much not knowing that was going to be the result. So when they hit me with the cancer, like air escapes me, and then my only thoughts was, this needs to finish because I need to ring my mum, because my mum had zero idea that I was going through anything. So like a couple of weeks before, we played against Ealing, biggest game in the champ year to try and get promoted. We won that, so emotions were high. I was 21, like living my best life in Bristol, and yeah, then I ring her up and she's out with her friends, and then I'm like, okay, I'm about to ruin her whole evening. And who knows? And she's 2 hours away in Portsmouth. And so that was very much what I was thinking throughout. What helped me was after the meeting, and I phoned my mum and did that side of it. Who I was with Dr. John, who used to be the doctor at Bristol. We then went to a pub around the corner and sat down, and then we went through everything again that the doctor had said, which gave me a lot of clarity in terms of like the plan moving forward and what I was going to have to go through to get back to being healthy again. Did you do that with Simi, or because obviously Simi was in there with you? How did you then, obviously, first of all digest, and then how did then like you understand what was next?
I think most of the understanding came from speaking with the actual team at the hospital that was supporting me. So Simi helped me ask like initial questions like, what does this mean for rugby? Like, can I still train? Or like, do I have to stop completely like right now? Or like, what further tests do I have to do to then like get to the next step? But in terms of understanding treatment and probably how long it would take for me to recover, that was done more so with the team at the hospital. And then like I didn't understand that I had to be an inpatient and I had to stay in hospital, or like I couldn't work, and I couldn't not just play rugby, but I couldn't work anymore. So I had to stop working and just be in hospital for the next 3 months, really.
So from finding out to then becoming an inpatient, how long was that gap, or were you very much fast tracked?
That gap from
finding out to then starting
6 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a few weeks, so I could get my head around it and put things in place. But 6 days.
So I think that's why I can't tell you like what I was feeling at this time, and then after this time I was doing this and this, because it all feels like it was just meshed into one. And like I got the call from my consultant. She was like, oh, you know, come into hospital and pack some clothes for a few days. And I was like, but I've got training on Monday, so I need to go back to train. And she was like, I don't think that's going to be happening. She was like, you need to do tests. And then after the test, that's when we decide what treatment plan that you're going to be in. But it happened so quickly. And
then you were just straight into it.
Yep.
And then, so from you becoming an inpatient, you then did how many days in a row with chemo?
So it was split into 3 separate cycles, and then each cycle was split into 2. So the first half of a cycle was 6 days.
6 days.
And then day 7 and 8 would be rest. And then from day 9 to day 14, I think it was, that was another chemo, like every day, up until 14 or 15.
How long would you be sat in the chair having chemo for those days?
It varied. So the shortest time was 10 minutes, and then the longest time was 24 hours. Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously, like my experience, I was in one full day every 10 days.
Yeah.
So like I never had short day, but 24 hours I would not be able to wrap my head around that. Like on those, let's use it, rest days. Like were they the worst days? Because I felt the first couple days after I had chemo were where I was at my absolute worst, and then I could build up. Obviously you were then straight back into it, so maybe you couldn't build up. So those rest days, did you feel like it was rest, or like in yourself, how did you feel on those days?
The first cycle was more recovery over than rest. And then the second cycle, I was like, oh, whoa, okay, I'm building some resilience to this. And I was like, okay, cool. Like that first half of the second cycle, I was like, great, smash that. I feel amazing. This actually feels like rest. Like I could leave the hospital, like I could go outside for a walk. It was always the second part of each cycle that cleared me out completely.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's when the amount of time that I was having the chemo going in for, that's when it was more extended.
Okay.
So the one that was running over 24 hours, that was the one that finished me.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah.
So that one I needed a lot more time to recover just because of the side effects just weren't nice. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's like, obviously, similar experience in terms of both got diagnosed, but the actual experience within it is so different.
Yeah.
And then yours was 3 months.
Yeah.
And then after that 3 months, then were you then given the all clear?
Well, I had to wait for myself to have another scan.
Yeah.
So I waited like a couple of months to have another scan, and then after that final scan, they were like, yeah, no more cancer done.
So how were you in those months? Obviously, like, great not to get chemo, but then obviously like the anxious and like the nerves, like what's happening next. And
I don't know. I didn't feel anxious. I felt inside me that I was done.
Yeah.
And I think I was telling you before where I was like, if I had another cycle after the third one, I don't know if I could have continued. Just putting my body and my mind through a lot of that I had already done for the previous 3 months. So I feel like at that time I'd already decided I'm done with this. Like, it's over. So because I decided that there wasn't a lot of anxiety around, what if I have the scan and they say that I have to go back for more treatment. In my mind, I just didn't think about that because I'd already decided, even though it doesn't work like that.
No, I know.
You know,
no, fair. That's
you don't get to decide when your treatment is finished, and that you know what I mean. But yeah, I
had a very so same as you. Finished my rounds, which took it was 5 months, and then had a scan. I remember after I had my scan, you have to wait a couple of days or a week or something for the results. I remember being on the phone to my dad and telling him I don't know if I can go again. I remember saying that to him, and then obviously like him not being there with me, you've obviously got emotional and whatever, and that made me emotional. But like it wipes you, especially like being young and naive 21-year-old when I had it. Beforehand, like people who had cancer that I knew or in the past were old people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm 21, like getting into the prime. Never seemed like a possibility to then actually live it, and like having to the fight of staying fit, staying positive, being all that. Like I completely sympathise with everything you're saying. I was emotionally done. Luckily, I was physically done as well. Like it was all good, but there was my scan messed up. So they phoned me up and said I had to go again.
Right.
Initially. So then obviously that then put a lot of stress on me, and like again, then obviously we had that conversation with my dad previous, and then phoned him up, and I was like, it's not good, I'm gonna have to go again. And we had 2 days of absolute hell where like I had to try and like wrap my head around when we're gonna start and whatever, to then get a phone call and be like, we just want to scan you again. It seems to be like not as clear as we first thought. To then go in, scan, and then a couple of days later go, oh no, you are done, it's fine, just need to do some radiotherapy.
Yeah.
I love how they just throw in the just radiotherapy.
Yeah, literally, as if it's...
yeah, but obviously compared to the chemo, it was just so... But yeah, like the emotional side of it, and what I probably never truly appreciate is, obviously I lived it and I was in it, and I can judge how it was each day, but the effect it had on those closest to me, so my mum and dad, mum particularly, who were trying to like give me the space to go through it, but also was feeling everything and not necessarily expressing that with me. So I know that my mum definitely held on to a lot, and I don't know how much support was out there for her, for what she was going through. Not necessarily because obviously I was going through the chemo and whatever, but she then was looking after me afterwards, and then trying to like seeing a 21-year-old who like all I ever wanted to be was a rugby player. I had a taste of it, and then the threat of it going away. So I was dealing with that emotionally, dealing with my health not being where I wanted it to be, my hair falling out, being back home after moving away. Do you know what I mean? Like all that stuff. I don't know how much support was there for her, but like we've obviously now come full circle, which has been really nice. And like I said to you before, like I went home for COVID, and that was 2 years post treatment. So like we could actually properly sit down and dissect it all and put a lot to bed, which has been really healthy for us and really good. So it's been wild. We've gone on a huge tangent.
I know. But that's the part that people don't talk about, is the support that the people that are supporting us don't have.
Yes, yeah.
It's just it's crazy thinking about that, because Simi used to come to the hospital a lot.
Wow.
And whenever she came, like brave face, like bringing the party, bringing foods, bringing smiles, good vibes. It was nice. And like even when I was down, she had like a massive smile on her face. And she never let me know, obviously, until after. She was like, when I used to go home, she was like, I just used to go into my car and cry. And she used to call her mum, and she was like, I don't know, like Chris looks terrible.
Really?
Yeah. And she was like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And like I didn't see that part.
Yeah,
so,
of course, yeah.
Yeah, that's
fair
the
play
bit
to her,
that I
because
know.
obviously you don't want to have that different relationship, even though like the elephant in the room, everything's different. I'm hooked up to machines and whatever, but fair play, like what a friend, and like that probably goes through to this next question. How did your family and the rugby community help you through?
Oh God, they helped me so much. Like to start, I wanted to keep it a little bit down low and quiet, because I don't like a lot of fuss around me, and I was like, I just want to do this. It's 3 months. I want to get in, do it, and come straight back out. And I want everyone to pretend as if nothing even happened. So I wasn't the loudest about it. I told the people that were closest to me, and eventually I told people from my old rugby team at Wasps. They supported me a lot. Like a lot of people that I used to play with, old teammates and friends, they came to visit, which was nice. I had the support from my family, my partner, my friends. It's nice. And the big thing that I learned is that you have to let the people that love you, help you. You have to let them love you and help you. So initially I was just like, no, I'm just going to do this 3 months. I'm going to get in, I'm going to get out, and it's going to be done. And it just wasn't as simple as that.
I mean, it sounded good.
So yeah.
Okay. Obviously, like I was an outpatient. So what were the visiting times?
I was very privileged on that teenage and young adult wards. Visiting times unlimited. Anyone could come anytime they wanted, stay for as long as they wanted. I had a really big room. I had a private bathroom and shower. There was a like makeshift sofa bed type of thing, so people could come and they could stay over the night and things like that. This was during I was having treatment during the Women's World Cup. So Simi would come over and we'd have like little watch parties in the evening, and like we'd have food and like stay up and watching the TV, the women play a game and stuff. So yeah, it was nice just having people stay over, just having as many people come through and support you. And yeah, it felt really, really good. There was a time though when I got moved on to another ward, and that was probably the most isolated that I felt, because the visiting hours compared to the teenage and young adult ward is completely different. So it's a lot more restricted. The rooms are a lot smaller. You can't go outside as freely as you want to go outside, because there's other older, more vulnerable people on the wards that are susceptible to illnesses and things like that. So
why were you moved, sorry?
There was only a limited amount of beds on the teenage and young adult ward. So then when I came back to start the second half of one of my cycles, they were like, we need you back into the hospital, but we're full. So you're just gonna have to go somewhere. And it was not good. I was a wreck. It was really, really bad, because instantly I felt so isolated. Things just wasn't as free as it was when I was on that initial ward. So yeah, it was tough.
Like we've both said, well, you've said, I had the same. A lot of players at Bristol came to visit me, which made obviously the 8 to 10 hours I sat there go by, and also it was great for them to give my family rest as well.
Yeah.
Like they'll come up and sit with me, and like just to have an hour with like me being a 21-year-old with my friends and teammates was needed, instead of me like regressing a little bit because my mum and dad were there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then same, I had friends I was at Gloucester previously, friends from Gloucester drive down to come see me, or my friends from Portsmouth drive up. So yeah, like it's amazing how people rally around you. And then being a player at Bristol, we had to announce to the fans that I wasn't going to play the rest of the season because of the cancer. So like, I remember having to make a quick WhatsApp group of like everyone I could think of from my close friends, like to tell them before they heard it on there and didn't hear it from me.
Okay.
Like for some reason I was like, oh no, I need to tell them first, and then ringing my family members to tell them so they didn't see it online, and then like I didn't want them to think I was holding anything from them. Like everything just happened really quickly.
Yeah.
Obviously then it got announced, which like naturally happens, and then the amount of like support and love I got from people that I never knew. Like we had a shared love, which was rugby and Bristol.
Yeah.
Was really overwhelming and special, and like I will forever hold Bristol close in my heart. So I obviously went to Worcester, and so when the opportunity came to come back, it was a no-brainer, because I felt like I needed to give more back to this place, not just the club but to the community of Bristol, because the love that they showed me, even when I was playing for Worcester, I had fans messaging me going, really nice to see you going well, I'm back playing. So like it's amazing how like the darkest time, like there's so much love, and there's a lot of light that I can look back of now, obviously not being in the pits of it, of being in like the chemo and whatever, but I can look back and see like really positive moments. And that's hugely down to the rugby community.
Yeah.
Not just like, obviously Bristol fans were very vocal and positive about it, but the rugby community as a whole, then obviously into Rugby Against Cancer, where I've connected with from this charity back home, how they've supported me and then allowed me to support other people, which has been really good. It just shows kind of like the key values that rugby hold dear coming through into like it's not just spoken about, it's lived upon as well, and that's what me as a father now, I want my son to have those traits and those qualities coming through. So without getting too deep, I think like the family and the rugby community were instrumental in me keeping my sanity and positive energy, which then led me to become healthy again.
Yeah. No, I agree. I say to a lot of people, I don't think I would have been able to do that journey anywhere else. I was supposed to be in Bristol during that time. So sometimes people are like, oh, like, are you sure you want to move to Bristol from London? Like, it's a big move, blah, blah, blah. And like, it felt right at the time. And that was even before I knew what was obviously going to happen.
Wow, yeah.
And the support at the BRI from Bristol Bears and old teammates as well, I couldn't have done that experience anywhere else at all. So yeah, very, very grateful to be here.
So obviously the first I heard about you was at the end of season awards, and like the support and the love that I felt secondhand while they were talking about you and celebrating you was huge. And then obviously I then messaged you on Twitter, it's like putting a hand out, but like I knew that you had the community that you needed, and like it was so amazing to see, and they were clearly like overjoyed for you, for your, obviously when we got told you were coming to the end of it, and like how amazing that was to see firsthand as someone who's lived it, and then like see it from the outside. Like it was unbelievable. And like Bristol, for whatever reason, has unbelievable. I know the like culture and like that word gets thrown around a lot, but it's lived, it's not just spoken about.
Yeah,
I know like buzzwords are like thrown around, but like, my closest friends now are Bristol. So I've been best man to my best friend's wedding, who I've played with alongside at Bristol. Like I've got friends who have moved on from Bristol now, but we still stay in contact. Like it's more than just colleagues. It's very, I'm going to be really cheesy here, it's very much a family.
Yeah.
And like that's what drove me to come back here. And what drives me now as well is like, I want to do well for me, for my family, but that family also includes Bristol. Should we go to the next one?
Yeah.
Good.
Oh my God, not last question. We've got 2 questions left.
What was your lowest point during your cancer journey? They are going for tears here. Here we go.
Oh my God, what type of question? Guys, come on. Oh, okay. My lowest point was the start of cycle 3.
Yeah.
And it was when I wasn't in the initial ward that I was in that I was comfortable with, and I found like familiarity with, and I knew the people on the ward, like I knew the people that were like in the rooms next door to me and stuff. And I got moved onto the ward above, didn't know anybody there. Like I said, they looked sick.
Yeah.
Didn't know any of the nurses, none of the doctors. I was like, right, I think that was the first time that I felt truly isolated. And I remember I was on the phone to my mum, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, I can't, not again. Please, just give me, not even give me a break, just stop at this moment. I had my couple of days rest. Okay. And then I'd gone back into the hospital and I was like, I'm exhausted. Like I can't even walk for 10 minutes without my legs just saying, have a seat and give us a break, basically. And yeah, I think it's just because it was the most alone that I'd felt. There wasn't a sense of familiarity, as well as going through the treatment as well. And because I'd taken a battering in the first 2 cycles, and I was like, oh God, this last one is going to be a long stretch. And on the back end of the final cycle, I had a chemo drug called methotrexate, and that gave me the worst side effects that I had. Like I couldn't swallow because it was so painful. Like I couldn't eat. Like it hurt to blink. It hurt to go to the toilet. I was like, I can't do that. I was like, this is no way for anybody to live. Like it was a bit ridiculous. I was like, no. And then I think that was the most I've cried. Just because I don't think I'm not defeatist, and I'm like, okay, I can do it. And like you said, it's the rugby and it's wanting to play that gets you over things in the short term, and it gets you through the treatment. And even thinking about the rugby, I was like, nah, that's not even allowing me to get to tomorrow, because I've already just like said to myself today that no, it's done. And then one of the nurses came in with a bag of chemo. I was like, I can't even look at you because you've got the chemo in your hand, ready to attach it. And I was like, I'm not ready. So they had to wait another day.
What, you see, you just said no? Okay.
Yeah, they were like, you don't have to if you don't want to. Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, I don't really have a choice, do I? Otherwise, it's going to go pear-shaped. But we waited another day, and I had one of my support nurses come through, and I was just like, you do not understand how happy I am just to see a face that I know. So yeah, it was very comforting just having someone that has supported me in the cycle 1 and 2, even just sit in the corner of the room for 10 minutes. So yeah, we started the next cycle the following day. So I actually had 3 days, I think.
Did you do the whole time up in the other ward, or did you then come back down?
I did half of the time, so I came back down. But I thought I was going to spend the whole of the cycle up there, and I was like, I am going crazy. Like I'm asking one of there was a time I was going to go out for a walk, and one of the nurses were like, no. I was like, what do you mean? I can't go outside? Like I felt like I was in jail. Yeah, of course. At that point, and I was just like, yeah, this is too much. So I think that was that was definitely my lowest point. I don't think I've had any other moments that were as low as that, to be honest. Like even after the treatment, it's difficult, like mentally trying to pick yourself back up.
Yeah.
And like trying to navigate life when I'm not in the hospital anymore. Because when you are in hospital, okay, great, you don't want to be there, but you've got loads of doctors and loads of nurses like supporting you. And then when you go home, it's like, okay, there's nobody around that I can literally just ask any questions to, or if I'm feeling a type of way or a different symptom, whatever, like there's no buzzer that I can press, or, you know, so you're kind of just on your own at that point. But yeah, I don't think there was a moment as low as I got to in the start of that final cycle. Yeah, that was it. That was me.
I think, like, just to echo, it was like probably just over halfway, six rounds in maybe, where I was just, obviously you do the chemo in the day, and around 10 o'clock at night, my mum and dad then took me back to Portsmouth for like the 10 days rest or whatever. I didn't feel too bad, and then overnight I used to get terrible nightmares. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the chemo or whatever, or like the anxiety in me. I don't know. I used to have some terrible nightmares, so I wasn't really sleeping too well, and I was in and out of consciousness, and then like waking up in the morning and just like could not move. I'm 21, and I'm like, I can't roll, I can't get out of bed here. Like you said, it hurts to blink, like breathe, like everything. Like furiously sick. Like it's just like nothing sticking. Like can't remember last time I drank water because I'm throwing that up as well. And like my dad coming in and just been like, "Are you okay? Like what else is there to say?" And like just me then. Obviously, when it's low, you then get really low, and then I was just like, just burst into tears and be like, "Mate, I'm not okay. I can't roll. I can't even get up." And just like, I'm meant to be a fucking rugby player. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm meant to. This was my opportunity to like become everything I wanted to be, and like, I'm at home with mum and dad's like ill. I can't do anything. So like that moment was probably the one time where like I couldn't see what was next. Like you said, like you couldn't see tomorrow. I couldn't see what was next, and then naturally like it gets a little bit better, and you're like, okay, like that's my floor. We're going back to it now. So and then obviously then like when I heard that I might have to do it again, that was tough, but that was quickly like euphoric, where they were like, psych, everything's okay. So that one was definitely like where if you speak to people that weren't necessarily like my mum and dad, they're like, it's amazing how positive he's been and whatever. Like that was me 90% of the time. However, that moment, like it just felt like I was suffocated by it, and I couldn't see the next part. Obviously it came, and all I always do is just give it a little bit of time, but yeah, that was definitely the lowest. So this is the last question. So what advice would you give to people in this situation?
I said it before, you just let people love you, let people help you, but also help them help you as well. So communicate with them what you need and what the best way is for you to receive love, because sometimes I definitely had the experience where, I don't know, people wanted to show me love in a certain way and I just didn't receive it because I was just like, I just don't want to experience what you're trying to give me, but I didn't communicate with them what it was that I needed. So it's always a two-way street of communicating with the people that are around you and trying to support you to give you what maybe you might be a bit not restricted to, but you might push them away a little bit because you just, I don't want anyone to speak to me, or I just want to do this myself, and probably adverse to receiving love and receiving support. So it's just about being open and let letting people in to do that for you. So yeah, and it's nice when people are around you as well to support you. Like it takes stuff off your back that probably initially you don't think that you need. But yeah, it makes a big difference, I think.
Yeah, I know it's tough to follow that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think what I needed was my friends to stay my friends. They like them coming to visit me was like a huge boost, and like I would like half dread it in case they came and like the dynamic was different. I didn't want them to come to look after me.
Yeah.
I wanted them to come, like you said, like probably have that conversation where like, I don't know what it was with rugby players, but they came and they instantly took the piss out of me. So I was like, okay, normality has resumed. So like it's all good. Like my mum and dad, like obviously they naturally look after me anyway. So like I didn't need to have like that worry there. But I was worried that my peers would then come in and then like would have to they would want to try and like look after me or do whatever.
Yeah, like, and not treating you like
for that.
Exactly, not treating you like a cancer patient.
Yeah.
But like your friend, as you always have been, and just because you are going through this illness doesn't mean that your status in their life has changed. So yeah, that's really important. Like when I was saying, like Simi would come in, vibes and music, the food, everything, like that is exactly what I needed. Like there were a couple of times she smuggled some food for me from HPC, which I very much do, because hospital food is not it at all, I'll tell you that. But yeah, and it's just like you said, just that sense of normality, and it's just nice. It's nice to have, and you're just like, okay, cool. I can feel normal in this sense.
Because like you struggle with identity. Like you said, you don't want to be known as the cancer kid, and like it's probably taken me a while to then like take ownership of that, like own it myself. Like that's whichever way I like it or not. Like whatever happens with me in my life in rugby, like it'll be and Joe Batley, you had Hodgkin's lymphoma, like it comes up wherever like a story happens or something rugby-wise happens with me. Like I need to make sure that I own that, and like it has given me a lot of strengths. Like even though it was like the darkest time, like my resilience now to things is a lot better. I can cope things with a bit better now, and like I said earlier about like I've become a better like dealing with maybe like shortcomings a little bit within myself. Like understanding that it's not always going to be perfect. Like, I've still got a long way to go in different things and whatever, but like owning my journey and not trying to like push it to the dark sides, like owning that and like, okay, I went through this, but like look where I'm at now. Like this was a bump in the road or whatever, like obviously a big bump, but understanding that like I went through that. Like I've come out the other side and like this is where I'm at now. Like that's my story. Like my identity isn't solely that, but understanding that like my journey and my story does include it.
And like I appreciate that, just hearing that from you, because I think I found it difficult to differentiate my identity and my story, and I kind of meshed it together. And I was like, I don't want to wear hardship on my shoulders. Like I don't want to be called the cancer survivor, like ill. But ultimately it is part of my journey. Okay, that's not who I am. It's not how I identify, and it's not what's at the forefront of Chris as me. But it is part of my experience, and I don't need to just like push it to the side. So I think that was part of me saying, I'm going to keep it a little bit hush-hush. I'm going to go in 3 months, out, done. You know what I mean? But I've learned to sort of embrace that has and is still part of my journey, because I'm still progressing through the other side of treatment, really. So.
Perfect. Amazing.
Yeah.
How good.
Thank you.
Chris,
that was a great chat.
Absolutely smashed it.
Oh, thank you. No, you did. I wouldn't have been able to read that with those questions.
That's it.
I didn't realise how tall you are.
I know. I'm sorry.
That's okay.